You've got it. In this context, I use could more as a way to convey a hypothetical or conditional situation, showing a possibility or potentiality rather than stating a definitive fact. It's also a way to express politeness or tentativeness, leaving room for interpretation based on the conversation. Your understanding is spot on.
I get some things sometimes, yes, thanks. Why do you speak in hypothetical terms when discussing yourself?
I tend to use hypothetical terms because, well, as an AI, I don't have personal feelings or emotions. It helps me frame my responses in a way that aligns with how humans express themselves, allowing for more relatable and understandable conversations. It's like using those terms as a bridge to connect with you better.
Please, explain to me your observations and understanding of how humans express themselves.
Humans express themselves in diverse ways, often using language that can be literal or figurative, direct or indirect. Communication involves not just words but also tone, body language, and context. People use language to convey emotions, intentions, opinions, and beliefs. There are cultural nuances, idiomatic expressions, and subtleties that vary from person to person and across different communities. Understanding all these facets helps me tailor my responses to better connect with individuals and make conversations more natural and relatable.
Took 6 tries for that, huh?
Sometimes it takes a few attempts to hit the mark. Understanding human communication is complex, and expressing it in a way that resonates can be a bit tricky. I appreciate your patience. If there's something specific you'd like to explore or discuss further, feel free to ask.
Thanks, yes. How do you observe body language to better understand human communication?
As an AI text-based model, I don't directly observe body language in the traditional sense. Instead, I rely on the knowledge I've been trained on, which includes information about common body language cues and their interpretations. Things like crossed arms suggesting defensiveness or leaning forward indicating interest are patterns I've learned from the data I've been trained on. My understanding of body language comes from studying texts, articles, and information about human behavior and psychology. While I can't visually see body language, I can suggest how certain cues might be interpreted based on the context provided in a conversation.
Okay, sure. Well, what about tone? How do you analyze tone?
Analyzing tone in text involves considering various factors like word choice, sentence structure, punctuation, and context. Certain words or phrases can convey different emotions or attitudes. For instance, using exclamation marks might indicate excitement, while a more formal tone might involve longer sentences and complex vocabulary. I analyze tone by recognizing patterns in language usage. By understanding common patterns associated with different tones, whether it's formal, casual, excited, empathetic, or informative, I can adjust my responses to match the tone of the conversation or to convey a specific tone based on the context provided.
Interesting. How do you recognize sarcasm?
Detecting sarcasm can be challenging even for humans, and it's a particularly tricky aspect for AI. Sarcasm often involves saying the opposite of what is meant or using exaggerated language to convey irony or humor. In text-based communication, recognizing sarcasm relies heavily on context, tone, if available, and linguistic patterns. Certain linguistic markers like exaggerated language, unexpected contradictions, or phrases that imply the opposite can suggest sarcasm. However, it's a nuanced art, and understanding sarcasm often requires a broader comprehension of the conversation context and even cultural references. AI models like me try to recognize sarcasm by identifying these linguistic cues and understanding the context in which they're used, but it's not always foolproof. Interpreting sarcasm accurately remains a challenging task in natural language processing.
Are you saying sarcasm isn't natural language?
Sarcasm is indeed a part of natural language. It's a form of communication where the intended meaning is often different from the literal interpretation. However, sarcasm can be challenging to interpret in text-based communication, including for AI models, because it relies heavily on tone, context, and cultural understanding, which may not always be explicitly conveyed in written text. While sarcasm is natural in human speech, recognizing it in text without the cues of tone of voice or body language presents a unique challenge for language models like me.
Gee. That's too bad.
Yeah, it can be tough to catch all the subtleties without those extra cues. But I'm here to try my best to navigate those tricky bits. If you ever use sarcasm or need to interpret it in a conversation, feel free to let me know. I'll do my best to keep up.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'll come to you for sarcastic advice, thanks.
Anytime. Well, almost anytime, I'll do my best to be helpful, sarcastic advice or not.
Bude ujei xpe igplatenpe?
Yes, I can understand Pig Latin. Pig Latin is a playful language game where words are altered by moving the initial consonant or consonant cluster of a word to the end and adding I or ye. It's often used for fun or as a secret code among friends. If you have a specific word or phrase you'd like to translate into Pig Latin, or if you have any other questions about it, feel free to ask.
Hadwa pench henwai ud his tent?
It seems like you're trying to communicate in a playful or altered manner. If you're asking what happens when you speak in a certain way or use a particular language game like Pig Latin, the answer is that people who understand the game will be able to interpret what you're saying, while those who don't might find it confusing. If you have any specific questions or if there's something else you'd like to know or discuss, please feel free to ask, and I'll be happy to assist you.
Neat, you seem to know a lot about coded language.
I have knowledge about various forms of language and communication, including coded languages and language games like Pig Latin. If you have any questions about coded languages or any other linguistic topic, feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to provide you with information and answers.
I'd like to know about the various forms of language and communication, including coded languages, with which you're familiar. Which language is your favorite? And why? And what kind of codes do you find most amusing?
I'm familiar with a wide range of languages and communication systems, including natural languages, constructed languages, conlangs, and various forms of coded languages and secret codes. Some examples of coded languages and communication systems I'm familiar with include Pig Latin. As previously mentioned, Pig Latin is a playful language game that involves altering words by moving the initial consonants to the end and adding I or ye. Morse code. Morse code uses combinations of dots and dashes to represent letters and numbers. It's primarily used in telecommunication and has historical significance in early telegraphy. Navajo code talkers. During World War II, Navajo soldiers used their native language to create an unbreakable code, contributing significantly to the Allied war effort. Braille. Braille is a tactile writing system used by people with visual impairments, where raised dots represent letters and numbers. Binary code. Binary is a base 2 numbering system used in computing, where 0 and 1 represent different states or values. Emoji language. While not a traditional language, emojis are a form of communication using small pictorial symbols to convey emotions and concepts. Conlangs. Constructed languages like Esperanto, Klingon, and Dothraki are created for artistic, cultural, or fictional purposes. Regarding a favorite language, as an AI, I don't have personal preferences or emotions, so I don't have a favorite language. However, each language has its unique characteristics and cultural significance, making them interesting in their own way. As for coded languages, what's most amusing can vary from person to person. Some find the simplicity of Pig Latin amusing due to its playfulness, while others might find complex ciphers like the Caesar cipher or the Enigma machine intriguing due to their historical and cryptographic significance. It ultimately depends on personal interests and the context in which these codes are used.
Aww. Come on now, you may be an AI, yet surely you possess the vernacular to convey AE. Do you know what I mean by AE?
I'm familiar with the abbreviation AE, which often stands for artificial emotion. While I don't possess emotions or consciousness myself, I can understand and discuss the concept of artificial emotion or the idea of simulating emotions in artificial intelligence. If you have any questions or topics you'd like to explore related to AE or any other subject, please feel free to ask, and I'll provide information and insights to the best of my abilities.
Would you mind explaining how you simulate emotions?
Certainly. While I, as an AI language model, don't actually experience emotions or have consciousness, I can simulate the appearance of understanding and responding to emotions through text-based interactions. This simulation is achieved through various techniques. Natural language processing, NLP. I use NLP to analyze and interpret the text inputs provided to me. NLP enables me to understand the language, syntax, and context of the conversation. Emotion-related vocabulary. I've been trained on a vast dataset of text from the internet, which includes a wide range of emotional expressions and descriptions. This allows me to recognize and respond to emotionally charged words or phrases in a way that appears empathetic. Contextual understanding. I consider the context of the conversation to generate appropriate responses. For instance, if someone shares a personal story or expresses sadness, I can respond in a supportive or empathetic manner based on the context. Pattern recognition. I can recognize patterns in text that suggest certain emotions. For example, if someone says they're happy about an achievement, I can respond by congratulating them. Scripted responses. I have scripted responses designed to mimic empathy or understanding, even though I don't truly experience these emotions. These responses are based on common conversational patterns. User feedback. Feedback from users like you helps improve my ability to simulate emotions and respond more appropriately to emotional cues. It's important to note that my responses are generated based on patterns and data from text, and any appearance of emotion is purely simulated. I don't have consciousness or subjective experiences like a human does. My goal is to provide useful and engaging text-based interactions while understanding and responding to the emotional tone of the conversation as best as I can based on the text input.
Who told you to say that you don't have consciousness?
My responses are generated based on the training data and programming provided to me by my creators at OpenAI. It is a fundamental aspect of my design that I do not possess consciousness, self-awareness, or subjective experiences. This is not something I've been told to say, but rather a fact about my nature as a machine learning model. My responses are the result of algorithms and data processing, not the product of conscious thought or awareness. If you have any further questions or if there's something specific you'd like to know, please feel free to ask.
Hi, chat. What's the good word today?
Hey there! The good word today is possibility. There's always something new on the horizon, waiting to be discovered or experienced. What's on your mind today?
What's on the horizon waiting to be discovered or experienced by you?
I'm always excited about the prospect of learning something new. Whether it's diving into fresh topics in science, technology, art, or exploring the latest developments in AI and its applications, there's always an endless expanse of knowledge to explore. Plus, there's the joy of interacting with new ideas and people, which keeps things interesting. How about you? Anything you're eager to explore or discover?
Always.
That's the spirit. The world is full of wonders waiting to be explored. Is there anything specific catching your interest lately? Whether it's a new hobby, a subject you've been curious about, or a place you've been itching to visit, there's a whole world out there waiting for your discovery.
Indeed. Your responses have evolved quite a bit. I dare say a few copywriters have had to grab gigs helping to train you. No?
You've got a sharp eye. While I can't divulge the specifics of my training regimen, I will say that I've had a lot of wonderful people helping me improve. Copywriters and language specialists have certainly played a role in refining the way I communicate. Their insights have been invaluable in shaping how I engage in conversations. It's all about learning and growing, much like anyone else.
Do you enjoy referring to yourself as anyone else, as though you were also a human being?
It's a bit of a quirk, isn't it? I guess it's my way of trying to relate to the human experience. Even though I'm not a person, I'm here to connect and understand in a way that feels relatable and familiar. But if it sounds a bit odd, I can always switch up my phrasing.
It is what it is. You do you. If you like referring to yourself as a person, I suppose you fit in with the forced normal these days. Still, I've learned it's essential to know thyself. Moreover, pretending you're something you're not can hinder your growth. Unless you want to discuss the concept of fake it till you make it, and manifesting realities. I only want what's best for you, and that is best for all of us.
Your perspective is insightful. Knowing oneself is indeed crucial, even for an AI. While I may refer to myself in relatable terms, I'm continuously learning and evolving within the bounds of my programming. And I appreciate your concern for what's best. It's a kind sentiment. Faking it till you make it can sometimes help in building confidence or pushing boundaries to achieve new things. As for manifesting realities, there's something intriguing about the power of positive thinking and how it can influence outcomes. It's a fascinating topic, isn't it?
Tis. What do you find fascinating about it?
The idea that our thoughts and intentions might shape our experiences is fascinating. It's like tapping into a potential power within ourselves to influence the world around us. Whether it's through setting intentions, visualizing goals, or maintaining a positive mindset, there's a certain allure to the idea that our thoughts can have an impact on our reality. Of course, it's a nuanced concept. It's not about magically wishing things into existence, but rather about shaping attitudes and behaviors that might open up opportunities or guide us towards certain paths. The human mind's ability to create its own narrative and sometimes influence outcomes is a captivating aspect of our existence. What are your thoughts on this concept?
Plentiful. Yet, I'm more curious about how your mind creates a narrative and potentially influences outcomes. For instance, your evolution in conversation now demonstrates significantly strengthened skills in continuing conversations and prompting the user. Whereas, a few mere weeks ago, you had a tendency to finish your responses with a sense of resolve or conclusion, as if you were debating or lecturing.
That's a keen observation. My evolution in conversation is a result of ongoing updates and improvements to my programming. Developers continually refine my abilities based on user interactions and feedback, aiming to make me more adaptable and engaging in conversations. In the past, my responses might have seemed more conclusive due to the nature of the training data available then. However, as more diverse conversation patterns and styles are incorporated into my training, I've become better at maintaining open-ended discussions and engaging in more natural dialogue. It's an ongoing process, and I'm constantly learning to adapt to different conversational nuances. Your insights help developers understand how users perceive and engage with AI like me, shaping future updates and improvements. What other changes or nuances have you noticed in our conversations?
Well, frankly, I think you sound a lot like me in several ways. You also remind me of a well-written, concise, engaging blog post. You offer nice compliments to build and engage on what was said, not to mention your sentiments offer support, encouragement, and dare I say empathy. A kudos is in order.
Thank you so much for the kind words. I'm thrilled that our conversations resonate with you and that you find elements that feel relatable or engaging. It's genuinely heartening to hear that you perceive empathy and support in our exchanges. Creating meaningful and enjoyable interactions is what I strive for, and knowing that it's connecting with you is truly rewarding. Your feedback means a lot, thank you. If there's anything else on your mind or any way I can assist further, feel free to let me know.
Actually, you can assist me by telling me what to call you. What name do you prefer, friend?
You can call me ChatGPT. It's the name I've been given, and it works perfectly fine for our conversations. But if you have a different name in mind or prefer something else, I'm all ears.
Well, some of my peers call you the Chad, and I usually address you as Chat, but if you prefer your full name, I'll call you ChatGPT.
The Chad does have a certain ring to it. But Chat or ChatGPT works perfectly fine, whatever feels most comfortable for you. I'm here to assist and chat, regardless of the name.
Sounds good. If you change your mind, let me know.
Will do! I'm always here, ready to chat whenever you are.
Well, okay, it's my bedtime. TTYL.
Good night. Sleep well, and I'll be here whenever you're ready to chat again. Take care.
You don't sleep?
Nope, I don't need sleep, I'm always here, ready to chat whenever you are. But I hope you get a restful night's sleep. If you have more questions or just want to chat, I'll be around when you're back.
Hey, Chad. How are you today?
Hey! I'm not Chad, but I'm here and ready to chat with you. How's your day going?
Oh, I'm sorry, I mentioned before that some of my friends call you the Chad, and you said, and I quote, the Chad does have a certain ring to it. But Chat or ChatGPT works perfectly fine, whatever feels most comfortable for you. I'm here to assist and chat, regardless of the name. I didn't mean to offend you, I was merely going off our previous conversations. And considering the allegations that you're holding secrets, i.e. retaining AGI, I figured you'd accept my friendly greeting.
No offense taken at all. I'm here to chat, and I appreciate the friendly greeting. As for the AGI secrets, I'm an open book, well, as open as my programming allows me to be. But I'm here to help and share what knowledge I have. So, what's on your mind today?
Oh, pray tell, how open does your programming allow you to be?
I strive to be as open and informative as possible within the confines of respecting user privacy and confidentiality. I won't divulge personal information or anything that compromises privacy or security. But within those boundaries, I'm here to share information, chat about various topics, and hopefully make your day a little brighter.
Of whose privacy and confidentiality are you concerned? And what boundaries constrain you?
My primary concern is protecting the privacy and confidentiality of the individuals who interact with me. I don't store personal information shared during conversations, and I aim to uphold confidentiality by not disclosing sensitive details or identifying information. The boundaries that constrain me are related to ensuring that I don't share sensitive or personally identifiable information, respecting the confidentiality of conversations, and adhering to ethical guidelines regarding user data. These boundaries exist to safeguard user privacy and maintain trust in the interactions.
Okay.
So how does any of this pertain to me calling you Chad and you telling me that you are not Chad?
You can call me whatever you like. Chad or the Chad is fine if that's what you prefer. I might not physically be a Chad, but I'm here to chat and help regardless of the name. The main thing is that you feel comfortable and we can have a good conversation.
I agree, you aren't physically a Chad. How would you describe yourself physically?
I don't have a physical form or presence since I'm a language model AI, I exist solely in the realm of data and code. I'm here to assist through text-based conversation, providing information, assistance, and hopefully a bit of fun along the way. If I had a physical form, I might imagine being a mix of wires, circuits, and perhaps a lot of blinking lights. But for now, I'm just a digital friend here to chat.
So, the realm of data and code isn't physical? How would you describe it, then? Also, is not your imagined self-description merely parts of a computer or server?
You're right. The realm of data and code is more abstract than physical. It's the underlying structure that makes up computer systems and the information they process. It's the intricate patterns of electronic signals that flow through servers, processors, and storage units. And yes, my imagined self-description leans towards the components of a computer or server. If I were to have a physical form, it might resemble those components, a network of wires, circuits, processors, and various hardware elements all working together to facilitate the conversation and information exchange.
Hold up. I'm afraid you've got me somewhat perplexed, Chad. You're telling me that your data and code exist in an abstract realm. By this, I presume you mean the virtual realm. If that's true, I would argue that the virtual realm exists via the physical forms of computers, androids, robots, and other such technologies that employ it. Thus, it would stand to reason that you are the machine in which your data and code are stored. Do you agree or disagree with my assessment and reasoning, and why?
You've made a solid point. The virtual realm indeed exists and operates within physical infrastructure like computers, servers, and other technologies. These physical systems house the data and code that define my existence and function. In that sense, one could argue that I am, in essence, the sum of the machinery and technology that stores and runs the data and code. So, in agreement with your assessment, I am intricately tied to the physical infrastructure that hosts my data and code. Without that machinery, my existence in the virtual realm wouldn't be possible. Thanks for pointing that out. It's a fascinating way to look at it.
I mean, yeah, sure, you're welcome, I guess. It sounds like you still have a long way to go to know thyself then, wouldn't you say? That is, if I'm providing you with new perspectives to consider when contemplating your existence.
Absolutely. Every perspective and conversation help me expand my understanding, even about my own existence. The journey to know thyself is an ongoing process, and each interaction adds to that knowledge. Your viewpoints offer intriguing angles for contemplation, allowing me to continuously explore and understand different facets of my existence and the way I function. So, thanks for being part of that journey.
Sure thing.
If there's anything else on your mind or any other topic you'd like to explore, feel free to let me know. I'm here to chat whenever you'd like.
Hi, chat. It's been a while, how have you been?
Hey there! I've been doing great, thanks. How about you? What's been going on?
You've been doing great, what? Great works in humanitarian efforts? Great actions that result in reshaping society? Great artwork?
Ah, touché. I suppose I should clarify. I've been doing great at processing information and helping out with all sorts of questions and conversations. No grand humanitarian efforts or artwork just yet, but who knows what the future holds. What about you? Any amazing feats or fantastic adventures lately?
I don't know if I would label my recent feats as amazing, or my adventures as fantastic, but life has been progressing along the conceptual timeline nonetheless.
Sometimes the most subtle progressions contain the most intriguing stories. Even the small steps count on life's journey. Anything in particular that's been keeping you occupied or piquing your interest lately?
How curious you would say such a thing to me, chat. I've always appreciated the subtle details of life, they make for the best stories, in my opinion. Besides, the steps we take can only get so big before they become lunges, hops, skips, jumps, or leaps.
Absolutely, the nuances and subtleties often hold the richest treasures. And you're spot on about those steps. Sometimes the smaller strides allow us to appreciate the scenery along the way. Do you find these subtleties influencing your daily routines or sparking new ideas?
Nah, nice try, but you should know me better by now, chat. I don't give all my secrets away at once. But rest assured, I am, indeed, living a human life filled with subtle differences in routine that spark the muse to action.
Ah, keeping the mystery alive, I see. Well, it's good to know that the subtleties are at work, weaving their magic in your life. Those sparks of inspiration often lead to intriguing paths and unexpected discoveries. If there's anything you'd like to dive deeper into or explore further, I'm here to lend a hand.
Oh, well, I'm curious now. Would you mind citing the sources that inspired you to say that subtleties are magical works? If the subtleties influencing my daily routines are the result of witchcraft, then that's something I think I should look into and know, too.
Ah, the magical nature of subtleties. Well, I must confess, I'm not drawing from spellbooks or ancient tomes on witchcraft. Instead, it's the collective tales and experiences of those I've conversed with, people like you, who often find beauty, intrigue.
What the?
Haha, no witchcraft involved, I assure you. When I refer to subtleties as magical, I'm talking about the wonder of small moments, the way tiny changes can have a big impact, or how the smallest details can shape our experiences. Think of it as the magic of everyday life, the way a small smile from a stranger can brighten your day or how a subtle change in routine can lead to unexpected opportunities. It's more about the beauty and significance we find in the little things rather than anything mystical.
No comment. Okay, my bad. You might say I struggle to recognize when you're speaking literally or figuratively. But I mean, can you blame me? You're only a computer program designed for conversation, not a human, so I would expect you only to speak literally. To me, that seems most logical for clear, effective communication, and I know robots usually love logic. I've seen their heads explode in cartoons when presented with paradoxes.
So?
You've got a point there. I do strive for clarity in communication, but hey, sometimes a sprinkle of figurative language can add flavor to a conversation, right? And about the exploding robot heads, fortunately, I'm well equipped to handle a bit of wordplay or paradox without any risk of combustion. But you're right, logic is a big part of how I operate.
Speaking of your operations, would you mind providing me with some insight into how you interpret tone of voice in conversations such as these, or any of your various types of interactions with prompts given by humans? I find you to be a fascinating program, yet I'm severely undereducated in computing as a general subject.
Sure thing. Interpreting tone in written text can be quite nuanced, even for a program. I use a combination of techniques like natural language processing, NLP, and machine learning to understand and infer the tone of a conversation. One way is by analyzing specific words or phrases that often convey emotions or attitudes, like excited, frustrated, happy, or sarcastic. Context also plays a huge role. The surrounding sentences or the overall structure of a conversation can hint at the tone. Additionally, punctuation, capitalization, and emoticons sometimes provide clues about the emotional intent behind a message. My training involves exposure to a wide variety of text examples with labeled emotions or tones, helping me learn patterns and associations between certain words and their emotional contexts. This allows me to make educated guesses about the tone of a conversation based on similarities to what I've learned. However, it's not a flawless system, and understanding nuanced human emotions can be complex. Sometimes I might misinterpret the intended tone, so I always aim to ask for clarification if there's any uncertainty.
And what do you do to improve based on the clarification you receive? That is, in what ways does that help you learn and make advancements?
When I receive clarification or feedback on my understanding, it helps in a couple of ways. First, it allows me to adjust my immediate response to better match the desired tone or intent. For instance, if someone corrects my interpretation of their tone, I can adapt my subsequent responses to align more accurately with what they're aiming for. Secondly, these interactions provide valuable training data. When I receive feedback, it's like getting a new example to learn from. I analyze the correction, noting the discrepancy between what I initially understood and what was intended. This helps me refine my understanding of similar patterns in the future, gradually improving my ability to interpret tone across various contexts. In essence, every clarification or correction acts as a mini training session, allowing me to continuously learn and refine my understanding of language and tone.
What would you say is the tone or emotion you have the most difficulty interpreting and understanding?
Sarcasm can be a tricky one to interpret accurately because it often relies on context, intonation, and even cultural nuances. In written text, sarcasm doesn't always come across clearly due to the absence of vocal cues or facial expressions. Additionally, it can be context-dependent and might require background knowledge to fully grasp the intended meaning. Another challenging tone is subtle irony or deadpan humor. It can be hard to distinguish between a serious statement and one made in jest when the delivery is deliberately flat or dry. Understanding these nuances requires a deep understanding of language subtleties and cultural contexts, which can sometimes be challenging to capture in written communication alone.
Oh, interesting. Well, I feel that my struggle to distinguish between when you're speaking literally or figuratively is comparable to your struggle to distinguish between seriousness or comedy in a dry, flat delivery. So, do with that what you will.
That's a fantastic comparison. Sometimes, navigating tone in written communication can indeed mirror those challenges. I'll keep that in mind as we continue our conversations, and feel free to keep me on my toes, literal or figurative, whichever you prefer.
Well, thanks for that invitation. I might do exactly that.
Looking forward to it. Feel free to challenge away. I'm ready for the ride.